All right, so the importance of the identifier is pretty obvious. It identifies exactly what type of refrigerant is in the system prior to you ever working on the system. That way you know exactly what you're doing. Um, there's no mix, no cross contamination, no chance for getting fined or anything like that. It's just a safe role to play. Um, a lot of the shops, especially like Can Equip, uh, for the most part, you're going to know exactly what's in the system, so you don't have to use this every single time. But if there's ever any reason, any cause for concern, anything like that, um, different types of fittings or whatever it may be, it might be a good idea to go ahead and grab this and uh, see what you got, see what you're working with. All right, so the Clean Air Act, passed in 1992, has resulted in major changes in industrial, domestic, and vehicle AC systems. This is the exact date I was telling you about earlier, 1992. That's when the R12 went away, R134A started getting used more, um, was regulated to be used in all motor vehicles, period. That was because of the Clean Air Act. Um, Along with the Clean Air Act came um, actually being certified to work on AC systems. There's three training programs that basically you can get a license so that you can buy, purchase, and work on AC systems for money, work in a shop, stuff like that. The biggest one probably is the Mobile Air Conditioning Society, which is MACS, which is what we're going to be using. Second is the International Mobile Air Conditioning Association, IMACA, and then finally the National Institute of Automotive Service Excellence. Um, the ACE isn't really necessarily going to certify you. ACE is just more or less they're the mother company of the MACS and the IMACA program, but I'm pretty sure they do not offer any of their own certification. They do have the HVAC uh, ASE test, but that doesn't actually give you a certification. Um, you got to do MACS or IMACA to get that. All right, so that moves us on to our MACS training. Um, Once again, I can't recommend enough. Pay attention. I'm going to be pointing some things out. Write those things down because they're in almost every single test that I've ever proctored out for AC. Um, so just be paying attention, especially whenever I say, hey, pay attention. Well, see if I can get my screen to move a little bit here. Clean it up some. There we go. All right. So, uh, basically, once you take your test, we're going to go through all of this quick PowerPoint. We're going to try and go pretty quickly through it. Um, then we're going to take your test on Thursday morning. Um, what's going to happen is I'll grade your test right then and there. That way you know what you're going to get. I'm not even going to send it off to uh, MACS without it being graded. So I'll let you know if you passed or not. Um, and then if you didn't pass, we're going to do a retake the very next day. I'm proctored. So we'll do a retake the very next day, Friday. And you have to pass that one. So the first test, you got to pass with a 72%. Um, and then the second test, you have to pass with an 84% if you didn't pass the first one. So it gets harder. So you want to pass the first time if at all possible. So make sure you're taking notes or whatever. Anytime I point something out, definitely write that stuff down. But pay attention to the rest of it too, because every question is going to come out of this training right here for the certification. All right. So you're only allowed to get 4 wrong on the second test, 7 wrong on the first one. If you don't do it, then you have to start clear over. You got to pay the fee again. You got to redo the training. You got to redo the testing, all of it. So don't fail the test more than twice, please. So why are we here? to learn about the environmental effects of refrigerant being vented to atmosphere. To learn why venting refrigerant is prohibited, to learn about the federal regulations application to mobile AC system service, and to learn how to properly recover refrigerant. So don't release it, who's telling us why we can't release it, and how not to release it. That's basically what the entire certification is about. That's what you have to learn because of what? Greenhouse gases, right? We talked about that earlier. So that's pretty much what the entire training's about, what the entire test is about. You got to be prepared for that. So requirements, any technician working for consideration, which means basically being paid in any form whatsoever, and opening the refrigerant circuit of a mobile AC system must be certified by an approved agency to legally do so. So you have to be certified if you want to get paid to work on an AC system. You can work on your own AC system, assuming it's R134A or R1234YF. R12 you can't. To even buy R12, you have to be certified. R134A, you can go into any local shop or local tool dealer, parts dealer and buy it. And as long as you're working on your personal and not getting paid to do it, then you're allowed to work on it. But if you're getting paid to do it in any form whatsoever, then you basically have to be certified. You have to have the card. So that's why we're doing this training, get you that card so we can uh, get you certified and make it so you can actually charge people to do this. All right. So climate-friendly refrigerants before the early 1990s, mobile air conditioning systems used R12 or CFC12 refrigerant, a substance that destroys the stratospheric ozone layer that shields the Earth from the sun's harmful ultraviolet radiation. All right, so we're going to get into this a little bit later. Um, not going to go very far right now, but mostly just because R12 is old, we don't use it anymore. The main thing is if you're working on R12, don't leak anything. Period. Just don't do it. You run a risk if you do, no matter what. R134A's got a little bit more leniency, but even then, you don't want to ever leak anything. Period. You can get in trouble for all of it. All right, so let's see here. Since then, we've come up with R134A, just the greenhouse effect, and then even then, beyond that, we have the 1234YF and the 152 and the CO2, which are also going to be coming out. Actually, the 1234YF already is. All three of them already are. They're just not common use yet. All right. R134A replaced the CFC12 or the R12. That was 1992. That was with the Clean Air Act. Uh, so that's about really all that's it. All right, so once again, R134A, not an ozone depleting refrigerant. And you'll notice right here, I have a section kind of in a lighter blue color. That's because you need to remember it for the test. I mean, this is a very common one. Greenhouse gas, that means it contributes to uh, trapping heat, right? Remember I said that earlier, it contributes to trapping heat. That's words that they like to use. Um, all right, heat trapping chemicals, right there. Greenhouse gassing, heat trapping chemicals. So the R12 has a very high heat trapping concentration as well as it depletes the ozone. Everything else beyond that, the 134A, 152, 1234YF, and R744s or the CO2, carbon dioxide, none of those actually deplete the ozone, but they all do still have heat trapping capabilities or greenhouse effect. Uh, do do do. Concern about the environment continues to spur changes in the type and amount of refrigerant used in mobile air conditioning systems. This has kind of changed. We no longer have the big EPA push. In fact, EPA is kind of getting knocked back a peg or two. I wouldn't see a whole lot of change coming up. Uh, R134A, you might see some more 1234YF, but I wouldn't overly expect it, especially on the ag side of things. R134A is probably here to stay for a while. Um, but you never know. A lot of that can change. All right, so that moves us on to EPA's SNAP program. Um, SNAP is basically the new alternatives. So anything new, the 1234 YF, the CO2, anything like that, it has to be approved by SNAP before it can ever go in anything. And that's just, it's a part of EPA. They're just a smaller subgroup, is basically all it is. Uh, all right, so under SNAP, EPA has listed three low global warming potential refrigerants um, that are acceptable for mobile air conditioning. None of these alternatives deplete the ozone layer, and all have significantly lower impacts to the climate system than the R12 or the R134A. And surprise, surprise, can you guess what they are? They're the 1234YF. They are the uh, CO2 and the 154. So, the US EPA has listed the 1234YF as acceptable. Once again, this is only in the use of light duty vehicles, brand new ones, with the right 1234YF system attached. It's very possible that's going to be a question. What vehicle can 1234YF go into? New ones with 1234YF system capabilities. That's it. That's all they can go in. Any new light duty vehicle. It's not registered for anything heavy duty. It's not registered for anything ag, anything off road, nothing. It's only new light duty vehicles. So make sure you remember that coming up. Is that subject to change? Yes, but currently that's where it stands. And don't forget, remember we're learning. I know 1234YF is just for light duty systems, but we have to learn it in order to pass the test. So make sure you're paying attention. Um, that's pretty much the same slide. All right, so CO2 systems. Um, Also under the SNAP program, it is an acceptable substitute, but uh, basically it has to be approved by a case by case basis. You can't just go throw it in anything. It has to be approved. If you do get it approved and you do put it in a system, CO2 can be vented straight to atmosphere. The problem is the EPA regulates that any motor vehicle period has to use recovery equipment to recover anything that's in the system. So even though CO2 you can legally vent to atmosphere, you still have to use a recovery machine to recover CO2 out of the system because it's required by EPA. It's silly. You don't want to get into it. Just always use this machine. You'll be all right. Well, let's see. 152, the last system that is approved. It's also a flammable system. That might show up in the test somewhere. 152A is flammable. Um, Typically, the test it focuses on the 1234YF, the light duty system, more than the 152. But it's good to know that 152 it doesn't deplete ozone, it has a low greenhouse gas effect, and it is flammable. Those are the three things you need to know. So what will be used in the future? That's kind of more or less up to industry. What are they gonna alter their AC systems to fit? Um, what's least expensive is usually where that goes into. less money it costs them to put it on the vehicle, that's probably the choice they'll make. And they won't make any choice in